Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I wish you all a pleasant day. 5 out of 10 Filipino families are deprived of access to basic education. And this was before the onslaught of COVID-19. And I'm very thankful that I'm part of the fortunate 50%. I was and still am like any other student whose days consist of studying, sleeping, eating, and slacking off. I grew up in a healthy, learning environment. An environment that sadly, half of Filipinos are deprived of. I used to think that education can never be taken away from anyone. But I remember my mom saying that education is a privilege. It is heartbreaking that education in our country has come to be a luxury and a privilege, and not a basic necessity that every child and every person can attain. Many are struggling with the lack of proper educational equipment, facilities, and materials. Some would argue that the Philippines has countless public schools. Well, the establishment of basic educational institutions does not equate to its proper management and effective implementation. Students go to school, yet understand nothing of the lesson. Even teachers are suffering from being overworked and underpaid. Unmotivated individuals see school as a walk that they need to take, not for learning, but for the sake of merely finishing it. End of March 2020, public schools were shut down due to COVID-19, leaving over 1 million students unenrolled. Uncertainty, fear, and anxiety plagued the whole population, leading to the deterioration of mental health of many, students and teachers alike, and this birthed online learning. I will spare you the long talk of this flexible online learning, as we are already aware of the current situation. Students and teachers set their eyes on the screen for hours straight, shackled by the constant pour of workload. Lack of interest, motivation, and passion is ever prevalent, and many choose to work just to reach the deadlines. Might I remind you, books and lessons without understanding and analyzation are mere meaningless words and sentences. Ideas and theories without contemplation and application are mere senseless thoughts. Education without learning and passion is mere memorization and instruction that hold no purpose. Quoting Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. If we let the education in our country deteriorate, degrade, and deplete, the future and we wish to be bright will only hold darkness. Ignorance and unawareness can be remedied by proper education and learning. Racism, prejudice, discrimination, wars, injustice, and inequality. The long-term solution to these problems is and always will be education. Education is what forms the mindset, what builds the character, what shapes the behavior, and what molds the individual. The right to learn, the right to be educated belongs to every child, and I wish that every child in this country will be able to claim that right. Some may think that this is just a rant of a privileged child, and that I am too young to speak of such matters. And to that I say, yes, I am privileged, and yes, I am young. However, speaking of issues and taking a stand is not limited to a certain group. I acknowledge that I am privileged, and I know that I am too young to be a wise and noble individual. However, it is exactly because of these privileges that I am here before you, and that I am able to voice out the importance of education. Wisdom and maturity are not solely based on age, nor is the ability to voice out solid opinions and sound arguments. I stand before you, rid of the prejudice of age, class, and other social constructs. I will not turn a blind eye to the 50% of Filipinos who are deprived of basic education. I will not remain silent when millions of children are unable to exercise their right to learn, to uphold their right to proper education. I will not watch idly as hundreds and thousands and millions of individuals go to school daily and arrive at home without a speck of interest in learning. And I will not stand by when education is being taken away from people when it's rightfully theirs. I am here not to stand for myself, but as a member of society and as a citizen of this country, urging you to take action to better the education system in our country. Aid in reforming policies, in readjusting guidelines, and in developing a better system that would nurture a child's growth through learning. I ask the country to be more actively supportive of the education sect and to no longer neglect the importance of this sect to this nation. Support the teachers, encourage the students, provide the needed resources for proper education, reform the education system so that it would better cater and help both students and faculty. Raising awareness is no longer enough. It is time for us to take a stand and act on our words. Wisdom and knowledge are power, and education teaches us how to wield that power. The pen is as mighty as the sword. One word can change a life. One sentence can determine the fate of a nation. Guns and tanks are needed to win a war, but education can prevent that war in the first place. As Brigham Young once said, education is the power to think clearly, the power to act well in the world's work, and the power to appreciate life. The state of education in our country will define the future of not only our generation, but also those to come. An educated child is the same as a trained soldier in a battlefield, fully equipped and ready, yet able to improve oneself through every experience. That is why I urge you that we help every child to be equipped with knowledge, to be prepared for the world. I stand before you not only with a speech about the importance of education, but also a plea to cultivate learning and knowledge in our country, to set the nation free from the shackles of the faulty system. Take this not as the start of a reformation, but as a force and a challenge that will push you to take that first step. I urge you to speak your truth, your story, and your stand. Let your voice be heard and advocate for the betterment of education in our country. Because if not we, the citizens of our own nation, then who will promote the welfare of learning and education of our fellow Filipinos? Remember, education is not simply to fill a hollow vessel. It is to ignite a fire. And I stand before you as one out of millions who wish for a tomorrow where education will shine a light in our country. A society where every child has the power of knowledge and wisdom. A nation where education can truly be something that no one can ever take away. This is my stand. And now I ask you, what's yours?